All right, let's dive into something pretty incredible, a journey that's happening inside every single one of us, right now. We're going to follow our food from the very first bite all the way to the end and really uncover the amazing inside story of our digestive system.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about it? You take a bite of an apple or a sandwich, and then what? Well, it kicks off this fascinating, perfectly timed process. So let's follow that bite and see exactly where it goes and what our body does with it.
Okay, so before we jump on the tour bus, we need to understand the big picture, the mission, if you will. At its heart, the digestive system has two main jobs that it has to get done with everything we eat.
It's actually pretty simple when you boil it down. First, you've got digestion. That's all about breaking down the big stuff in our food into tiny, tiny little pieces. And then you've got absorption. That's where those tiny molecules actually get pulled into our bloodstream so they can be sent around the body to do their work. So first you break it down, then you take it in. Simple as that.
And what's so cool is how specific this whole breakdown is. I mean, our body is like a master chemist. Big carbohydrates like starches, they get dismantled into simple sugars, like glucose. Proteins get chopped up into their basic building blocks, amino acids. And fats, or lipids, they become fatty acids and glycerol. These little guys are the only form our body can actually use.
So where does all this action start? Well, the journey begins the instant food enters our mouth. This isn't just some waiting room, you know? The real work of digestion starts immediately. And right away, in the mouth, you see this perfect 1-2 punch of mechanical and chemical digestion. First, our teeth go to work, physically grinding and crushing the food. This is absolutely critical because it massively increases the surface area. And at the exact same time, our salivary glands release saliva, which is loaded with the first of our incredible chemical helpers. So what in the world is an enzyme? Just think of them as nature's little helpers, or biological catalysts. Their job is to make chemical reactions happen way, way faster. The one in our saliva, called amylase, gets to work on carbohydrates right away. Seriously, without enzymes, digesting a single meal could take years. Now, once we swallow, the food doesn't just, fall down. It's actively squeezed along by these waves of muscle contractions down a tube called the esophagus. It's a surprisingly quick ride to the next major stop on our tour, the stomach. And let me tell you, the stomach is a real powerhouse. Once that food arrives, it has three, count them, three critical jobs to get done. First, its super strong muscular walls start churning and mixing everything into a kind of paste. Second, it releases a special enzyme called pepsin, which has one target, protein. And third, it produces hydrochloric acid. This stuff is seriously strong. It kills off most of the nasty bacteria we might have swallowed, and it creates the perfect acidic environment for pepsin to do its job properly. After a couple of hours in the stomach, this soupy mix gets squeezed into the small intestine. And this is arguably the most important stop on the entire journey. This is the real hub of all the activity. But the small intestine doesn't go it alone. It calls for backup. As soon as food enters, it gets help from all sides. The pancreas sends in a cocktail of different enzymes, the gallbladder squirts in this stuff called bile, and the walls of the small intestine itself produce even more enzymes to finish everything off. Let's talk about bile for a second, because it's pretty clever. It has two really important jobs. First, it's alkaline, so it neutralizes that harsh stomach acid, which is crucial for the other enzymes to work. And second, it emulsifies fats. Basically, it smashes big blobs of fat into teeny tiny droplets, giving the enzymes a much bigger surface area to attack. And hey, here's a great piece of trivia for you. A lot of people think the gallbladder makes bile, right? Nope, it's actually made in the liver. The gallbladder is just a little storage pouch that holds onto the bile and releases it right when you eat something fatty. Pretty neat. So here's the bottom line, the main event. The small intestine is where it all happens. It's where the final breakdown of our food is completed, and it's where all those precious little molecules are finally absorbed into our blood. It does both jobs. You might be wondering, how does it absorb so much? Well, if you could shrink down and look inside, you'd see that its surface isn't smooth at all. It's covered in millions and millions of these tiny, finger-like folds called villi. And that is the secret to its success. This is just a masterpiece of biological engineering. Check it out. First, all those folds give it a massive surface area. If you flattened out an adult small intestine, it would cover a tennis court. No joke. Second,
The walls of these villi are incredibly thin, just one single cell thick, so nutrients can pass through super easily. And third, they're packed with blood vessels right at the surface, ready to whisk those nutrients away immediately, which keeps the whole process moving efficiently.
All right, we are on the final stretch of the journey now. After the small intestine has carefully pulled out all the good stuff, whatever is left over moves on to the large intestine. The main mission here is actually pretty simple: water reclamation. The large intestine's #1 job is to suck up most of the leftover water from all that indigestible stuff, recycling it back into the body so we don't get dehydrated.
And once that water is gone, what's left is a solid waste material called feces. This gets stored in the rectum, which is the final section of the large intestine, until the body is ready to get rid of it.
So when you really step back and look at the whole thing, from a single bite of food all the way to usable energy that powers our cells, it's just this incredible, complex 24/7 assembly line running inside of us all the time.
And the craziest part? This whole amazing system just runs on autopilot. You don't have to think about it at all. Which kind of leads to one last question for you. Since this system does so much for you automatically, what's one little thing you can do today to help it run just a bit more smoothly?